Hey everyone, it's May, and welcome to another episode of The May Lee Show. I have to admit, I wasn't sure if I was going to do an episode this week, and I'll tell you why. It's because I am exhausted. I'm exhausted because I thought this election cycle was over, and I could relax, and I could let go of all this anxiety that I've had for several years, and that we were waking up to a new dawn, and really some hope that this country could move forward with a little bit of more civility and decency. And unfortunately, that's not where we're at right now. When the election was called on Saturday, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris gave their speeches on Saturday night, I was feeling very euphoric. Sunday, I was celebrating still, but I was starting to feel a little bit anxious because of what was happening on the Trump side, that he wasn't willing to concede, and he was starting to already talk about contesting the election, calling it voter fraud, and that, there were voting irregularities and people cheated, et cetera, et cetera. So by Monday, I had full-blown anxiety again. My celebratory mood turned into anxiety again. And that really bummed me out. And I have felt that way since. I really was hoping that I could let go of this anxiety and not worry every day like I had been for the last 4+ years about what was going to happen today. Oh my God, I like the whole idea of waking up going, oh my God, what's going to happen today? What's he going to say today? What's he going to tweet today? And that's happening again. It's as if he did not skip a beat. And so here we are. Every day Trump is tweeting, we will win, the voter fraud. If I got all the legal votes, I would have won easily. He's talking about all these other ballots being illegal, accusing, those who mailed in their ballots or did absentee ballots that they were cheating. So this is where we're at now. So I decided to do this episode for a couple of different reasons. And listen, I'm going to please ask for your patience because I'm sort of all over the place with this because there's so much information coming out. And there's a lot of very complex issues, topics, and regulations, rules, election rules that are very confusing. And so I'm trying to get my head around it. And so I wanted to do this episode so I could at least try to give you guys the information properly as well, kind of in layman's terms, just so we all have some sort of understanding of where we're at and the process that is taking place because of this contentious environment. So, but let's go over a couple of the headlines so far. And, I wanted to mention, if anyone needs a personal massager, right, and you're alone and nobody can give you a massage and you don't want to go get a massage because it's dangerous because we're still in COVID, this thing I just bought on Amazon, it's a neck massager, okay? So this is how it works. You put it around your neck like this, and then these balls you can just start squeezing as hard or as soft as you want, up and down your neck. It's amazing. Do you think I've been using it 24/7? Oh yeah, you better believe it. It's amazing. Okay. Amazon. I think I got it for $12. Okay. All right, so headlines. This is where we're at right now. So Trump is, of course, making all these claims of voter fraud, and he's filing all these lawsuits in these battleground states where he feels like, there was, something fishy going on, some shenanigans. And then before I get to that, he's also saying, look, I can't even speak because I'm so exhausted. He's also saying, well, there's rumors that he's contemplating another run in 2024 for president. I mean, God help us all, but the ego, that's pure hubris right there. And then remember, in the 2016 election, after he won, he was elected president, he still contested the popular vote because he was so pissed that he didn't win the popular vote. Hillary won the popular vote by 3 million. He still contested that because his ego couldn't handle the fact that he didn't get the popular vote, even though he got the presidency. So just remember that is where his head is at. That is his mentality. He cannot bear the idea of not winning in any capacity. Okay? So one advisor, apparently, of the president said he wants to sow discontent in the public that the election was illegitimate so he can say he didn't lose. That's what he cares about. That's all he cares about. He doesn't care about leading this country. Remember, after the election was called on Saturday, he went golfing on Saturday and Sunday. Even though other issues as president faced him, like COVID-19 surging. And then yesterday, Tuesday, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, a Trump loyalist, but still Secretary of State, he should be doing his job, made a comment yesterday at a press conference when asked about, what was going on with the election and transition, right? There should be a transition of power going on right now, but that's not happening because of this conflict. And Mike Pompeo said, we are diligently working on a peaceful transition of power into Donald Trump's second term. I mean, that is an outrageous statement to make as Secretary of State. On the record, on camera, for the world to hear. And then another interesting story that came out of Houston. The lieutenant governor, a Republican, is offering a $1 million reward for anybody who has evidence of voter fraud. $1 million reward, really? Okay. I mean, it makes me want to come up with something if he's going to give a $1 million reward. I mean, shit, I'll just claim that my dog voted. I don't know. So then, of course, also this week, Trump fired his Secretary of Defense, Mark Esper. And then 3 other senior officials have been fired or resigned. And so they were all replaced by perceived Trump loyalists, including, according to reports, a controversial figure who promoted fringe conspiracy theories and called former President Barack Obama a terrorist. So these are the people who are now in the Defense Department. At a time when there's supposed to be a transition of power, and so there's sort of this leadership vacuum going on, and there's chaos within our Defense Department. So what does that do? It leaves us open to national security risks. That's good. Okay, so what is the election situation now? So there are still 6 states that Trump is going after, making these claims of voter fraud. And also some of these states have yet to be called, right? Because they're still counting the votes because they're too close to call. One of them is Arizona. Biden is ahead by 12,800 votes. The other one is Georgia. Biden is ahead by over 14,000 votes. And then there's Nevada, where Biden is ahead by 36,870 votes. Michigan, now these are all states that have been called for Biden, but these are states that Trump is going after. So Michigan, he's going after, even though Biden won almost 150,000 more votes than Trump did. Pennsylvania was called in Biden's favor, and he has 48,796 more votes than Trump. And votes are still being counted. There are very few votes left, but they're still being counted. And then Wisconsin, 20,539 votes Biden got more of than Trump. But these are all states that Trump is trying to contest for one reason or another. Now, according to analysts, the greatest opportunity for Republicans to try to upend the vote certification process, right? And that the vote certification process is when each state when they finally tallied up their votes, then they go through this process of saying, okay, this is certified, and then it goes to the electoral vote, and then they officially say, okay, these electoral votes go to Joe Biden or Donald Trump. Okay, so the greatest opportunity for Republicans is in Michigan, apparently, where there's a 4-person state canvassing board made up of 2 Democrats and 2 Republicans. And they're responsible for certifying the state results. So if there's a deadlock, so 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, and it's a split vote, right? Then it could fall to the Republican-controlled state legislature. But it's also likely that Democrats would ask the court to intervene. So that's how that could happen in Michigan. Even though Joe Biden has 150,000 more votes in Michigan than Donald Trump has. So the fact that this is even being contested is a joke. It really is. So there are 4 lawsuits apparently contesting the counting in Michigan. 3 have been dismissed by judges in the states. A lawyer for Republican interests have said they will appeal those. A 4th lawsuit is expected to be considered during a court hearing today, Wednesday. So by the time the show comes out, it may have already been decided. A 5th suit is expected to be filed in federal court Tuesday evening. Okay, Tuesday evening by the Trump campaign. That's alleging fraud and discrimination against Republican voters. Okay, so that's Michigan. In Georgia, they just announced today that they will now hand count every single vote. Hand count every single vote to make sure that it's done properly, and they want to, not have any kind of dispute. But again, look at the numbers. In Georgia, Biden is up by over 14,000 votes. And here, before I continue, let me clarify something. In the past, when there have been recounts of any kind, usually there's only a discrepancy of a few hundred votes at the most. A few hundred might switch or might get discarded or for some reason or another, not thousands. So even if any votes do come out as irregular or, have to switch over to the other person, it's not going to be in the thousands, right? Even in 2000, the Gore versus Bush election dispute with the hanging chads, that was a matter of like a little over 500 votes that they were fighting over. And remember, that only happened in one state, and it was Florida. So the fact that in this case, Trump is trying to overturn several states where he is down by thousands of votes, if not tens of thousands of votes, that's where logic has to step in. Logically speaking, it's going to be very, very unlikely that anything is reversed, that a state is flipped just because of a recount. Okay, I'm choking because I get just too excited and confused. No, I'm not confused, just anxious. My anxiety. Oh, geez, I should keep massaging my neck. Okay, so let's move on. So that's Georgia. They're going to hand count all these votes. And then apparently, again, according to election experts, Trump's prospects appear dimmest in Arizona, Nevada, and Wisconsin, where, he's filing lawsuits. So his chances in those states are pretty low to be able to get anywhere. Now, let's move on to the General Services Administration, the GSA. You may have heard this on the news, this organization that's referred to. Now, the GSA, what it does, it provides a presidential transition team with Washington office space and coordinates access to federal agencies to plan potential policy, changes with officials, current administration officials. And it also allocates $6.3 million to support that transition effort. So it's funding that is allocated for this whole process. Well, the GSA Administrator, this is how it works. This is how our government works, must first issue a letter of ascertainment determining the likely winner of the election. Okay. And that's a normal procedure. So Emily Murphy is the GSA Administrator. She's declined to determine that Joe Biden is the winner. And that means the transition process can't begin because she cannot, if she hasn't provided that letter, the transition process can't really start. So Biden officials are saying they might pursue legal action if Murphy doesn't provide this letter, this ascertainment letter. Of course, an interesting little factoid about Ms. Murphy is that she is a Trump appointee and former Republican staffer on Capitol Hill. What a coincidence. So, again, she, along with other GOP officials, are saying, well, this is like Gore versus Bush in 2000, so we should hold off because, look what happened there. No, again, like I just said a few minutes ago, in that race, it was one state, Florida, and there was a difference of 537 votes that were being questioned. So that's why, that was a very different situation than what we're in right now. We're talking about several states that Trump is trying to contest. So there are many problems with this in terms of delaying the transition, right? And one of the biggest is that it can affect national security. Now, before I mentioned the fact that Trump is like trying to wipe out half the Defense Department, right? And that is a threat in itself. But delaying the transition process this way, it also affects national security. According to the 9/11 Commission report, it found that the shortened transition process after the 2000 election, Gore versus Bush, had an impact on unpreparedness for terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001. Yeah, because again, the transition of power was delayed. It was shortened so that therefore the hiring of 4,000 plus people to work in the new administration and background checks and all of that, the time was reduced. So therefore it left an opening. It left us vulnerable. Scary thought, right? Okay, and now we get to, of course, one other thing I wanted to mention. So here's the thing. I took a picture of this because I knew I wouldn't remember it. So let me just get to it. But this is very important to know. The certification dates for each state that's being disputed right now. This is important because there's a deadline for when each state must certify its votes. Because then after that, it goes to the electoral college in each state where they then cast their vote and then boom, done. Okay. So in Georgia, it's November 20th. Pennsylvania, November 23rd. Michigan, November 23rd. Nevada, November 24th. Arizona, November 30th. And Wisconsin, December 1st. So there's still a little bit more time, but that is important to keep in mind because the contesting of all of these votes and these accusations and these lawsuits, there is a strategy behind it. It's a delay tactic. They want to try to delay as much as they can so that these deadlines will be missed, these certification deadlines. And if that happens, then it's a whole different situation. And so that is why the Trump folks are trying to delay and, distract. And then obviously each state is trying to make their deadline of certification. Okay, so that's that. And so now the other point I want to make is that this is all happening. This political crisis, this election crisis that has just given me such anxiety is coming at a time when we are still dealing with the COVID-19 crisis, which is getting outrageously worse by the day. It is out of control again. And this spike is worse than others we've had in the past, and it's predicted to get far worse. I believe in El Paso, Texas, they are running out of, once again, ICU beds. They're asking for mobile, storage units to store all the dead bodies because, again, they're losing so many people again, and across the country, right? The case count is spiking, but also hospitalizations are spiking and deaths are spiking. So this is a crisis that still is not under control. In fact, it's more out of control than before. And we're in this ridiculous political crisis because our, little adolescent, petulant president, can't get over the fact that he lost. And therefore, he's willing. This is what kills me. There's such a lack of empathy and interest in really the welfare of this country and its people that he would rather fight this battle that he has lost in the election than focus on his job still, because he still is president, of trying to contain this virus and trying to help Americans. Because guess what's going to happen again? Things are going to have to be shut down again, which they are already in different cities and states. And more and more people are once again going to lose their jobs and lose their businesses, lose their livelihoods, lose their lives. And he's out playing golf or just not making any appearances, not making any statements about what's going on. And it's really, it leaves me speechless. It really does. And the Republicans who are standing by silently, without the balls to stand up to him, I don't know what they're afraid of. I'll tell you what they're afraid of. What they're afraid of is that the 71 million people who voted for Trump, and that's a substantial number. Don't get me wrong. I'm not ignoring that. 71 million people voted for Donald Trump. And that's significant. And that's important to remember. We have to consider those people and why they voted for him. What is it? Why do they feel this way? And there better be an understanding of that. We cannot just say, oh, well, sorry, you lost, we win. No. If we want unity and if we want harmony and if we want to cooperate and work together again, we have to understand the 71 million voters who voted for Donald Trump and why. But with the Republicans, the rest of the Republicans who are still in office, they too are worried about those 71 million voters because they want to keep their power and they don't want to offend their constituents who may have voted for Donald Trump. So they're too fearful to speak out and say, Mr. President, you need to concede. So that's why they're staying silent. As of today, only 4 Republican senators have openly congratulated Joe Biden as the president-elect. More world leaders have reached out and congratulated Joe Biden on his win than our own elected leaders here on the Republican side. That's pathetic. So that is why you're seeing Republicans here not speak up about what's going on. And because they are fearful of losing their positions. They're fearful of their upcoming elections in 2 to 4 years. So I've always said to myself, wow, these people care more about hanging on to power no matter what it takes than rising above, their own ego and greed and looking at what kind of impact that they're having, their decision is having, or their indecision, I should say. That's a sad statement, that power can be so, that it can be so alluring and that it can really just blind people to that point. So anyway, going back to COVID, so the numbers, hang on, let's see, latest numbers. We now have 10.4 million cases, almost 104. Oh, sorry, that's a increase of almost 140,000 cases since last week. Oh no, 14 days ago. So that's a 69% increase from 14 days ago. And the number of deaths is over 240,000. So, if you look at the graph now, in terms of from September to now, it's a hockey stick. It's literally just going up, almost vertically. But the CDC came out with some new guidelines on masks, which I hope will make a difference and convince a few more people that masks are a good thing. They say the cloth masks act as a source control to block virus particles exhaled by the wearer and provide filtration for personal protection by blocking incoming infectious droplets from others. So meaning, if you wear a mask, it not only protects others from you if you have the virus, it also protects you from other people. So the mask goes two ways, okay? It goes two ways. It's protection for you and other people. So apparently, it shows that masks reduce the risk of transmitting or catching the virus by more than 70% in various instances. One study revealed a mutual mask use helped prevent 2 infected hairstylists from transmitting the virus to 67 clients who were later interviewed. Another followed infected people who spent more than 10 hours on flights without infecting other passengers when masks were used. So they say that medical masks, of course, are great. Polyester masks are very good. Silk masks apparently repel droplets. And then double layer cloth masks are better than single layer. Okay, so you have a lot of options, right? You have a lot of options. The agency also cited an economic analysis that found just a 15% increase in universal masking, just 15%, could prevent losses of up to $1 trillion. In economic losses, $1 trillion if only there would be a 15% increase in mask wearing. So here's the deal. This is what doesn't make sense to me. These anti-maskers, they claim they complain about their freedom and how their freedoms are being taken away, and they want to get back to work and they want to be able to go shopping and businesses to open up. Well, wear a damn mask. Right? Then we don't have to close down. Then we can go around and go shopping and, go to work and have the economy open. Just wear your damn mask. But again, of course, these people just don't believe in data or science. But oh my God. Okay, let me get my massager out again. See, this is what happens to me. I just get so stressed out. Oh. So that's from the CDC just recently. That's where we're at. I don't know what more I can say. I mean, there's so much going on. I literally cannot keep my head around it. I can't wrap my head around it. I can't keep up. It stresses me out. I have anxiety. This neck massager is so awesome, though. I'm serious. $12. It's so worth it. Yeah. And so I hope that we get through this. You know what? Let me rephrase that. We will get through this. We will get through all of it. We will. And it's going to be painful. It's going to be rough. It's going to be ugly, like it isn't already. But we have to stick it out. And we have to resist the pressure that so many are feeling of wanting to just give up or wanting to stay silent. Obviously I don't ever stay silent, but know that this is democracy at stake, right? That's what this country is built on, electing leaders fairly and squarely. We have a system that works. We have a system of checks and balances. Yes, President Trump has his legal right to pursue anything that they question as illegally done. But so far, they have not won and they have not come up with any evidence. But they can certainly pursue it within the boundaries that are set by our system. But the idea of stirring up noise and the heat and the fire with false information, misinformation, and ginning up all of this anger that exists is reprehensible. It really is. So I hope and pray, and I do. I pray every day that this country can come back together and move forward into the light, into a more hopeful place, into a place of more understanding and more unity and more compassion, because we need it. We need to rebuild what's been broken. And the world is expecting it. The world, I know, I mean, look, we've heard from all these world leaders. I've heard from friends all over the world. They too are hoping that this will be the change that we have all been wanting for the past few years. And I know, again, you know what? Let me leave with you with this. I know there are those out there who voted for Donald Trump, who support Donald Trump and wanted him to win a second term. And I appreciate that. I do, because we all have our own opinions. We all have our own positions and own reasons. But, you know, I hope that you respect the fact, or at least you come to this place soon, that the people have voted and the votes have come out the way they have. And we see the data, we see the numbers. And you know, this whole thing of, you know, voter fraud and irregularities. You're smart people. You can see that it's not there, and so yes, let the courts decide. You know, if that's where it's headed. But I really hope and pray that you too will come to a place where you want what's best for this country. And what's best for this country now is to move forward and not be embroiled in this horrible, contentious place. It doesn't do any of us any good. It really doesn't. And man, my neck is going to seriously break off if we have more of this. So, all right, that is it for this episode that I was reluctant to do. Hang in there, everyone, and I will see you soon. All right. Oh, one thing. Sorry. I kind of forget to do this, and I should. You know, this show is something that I love, and I enjoy doing it because it gives me an opportunity to share with you information and topics and interviews with fantastic people. So, many of you may know that we did start a Patreon campaign to just hopefully get some support from viewers and listeners like you. If you're interested, go to patreon.com and you can become a warrior level patron, a dedicated warrior, or a badass warrior. And depending on what tier you join, there are different things that you can get exclusively. But check it out. And I would love to get your support, but no pressure. But, you know, it'd be nice. That wasn't very eloquent, was it? Okay. All right. I need to sign off. I'm just exhausted. All right. Until next time.